What's up, duelists? Today I've got a brand new brew for you guys. This is something that I kind of meme theorized the other day, and I've been playing it a little bit, and I think it's actually kind of legit. I think it's a pretty solid combo of decks. Maybe the numbers aren't exactly right, but the idea is sound. If you guys like me making new decks, innovating archetypes, etc., make sure you smash like and subscribe. Of course, shout out to all the new subscribers that joined us yesterday after the top 4 video. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the channel. This is like, your bread and butter content. I create a really sick deck. I break the metagame. You just know how it goes out here. This is Flamvell plus Fairies. I've mixed the two archetypes together. Why? Because I fucking can. That's why. Why? Mostly because Book of Moon is really good in both archetypes. That's why. Also, I think it's cool to have Fire Dog into Magician. It's just like a nice little way to, I don't know, do a powerful play, I guess. Fire Dog also punishes the prevalence of Super Nimble Mega Hamster that kind of beats up on the Fairy deck. And then also, it's really good against, like, just not getting owned by Deck Dev or Light Mirror in the post-board games, pretty much. So I think Fire Dog plus Flamvell Magician, it's a sweet little package you can throw into just about anything with a couple of rekindlings. And as long as you got enough Book of Moons to support it, it's never really going to be that bad. Of course, we had to make some cuts. I cut a DD Warrior Lady, I cut a Dialk, I cut a Nova Summoner. I added a Raikou, I sided the Freed. I think having 2 Raikous makes a little bit more sense with the rekindling stuff. I also added a Card Trooper, which I think makes a little bit more sense with the rekindling stuff. We are trying to support triple Christia here. It's maximum greed build. It can brick, of course, because triple Christia it's just dead early unless you have a recruiter or like a way to mill and set up for it. But if you don't have, that exactly, you can always like Fire Dog, get a Magician, hopefully just hold the 2 and play, and then maybe Tribute Summon it. Who knows? And if you ever do resolve Christia, it's GG versus every deck, so that's definitely an upside. In the sideboard, we got double Oppression, we got double Decree, pick your poison, Oppression for whatever, Decree for whatever, Bottomless for Black Wings, Banishers, just standard shit. And then extra deck, of course, you gotta have double Stardust to make 8 stars. The first match I've got is up against, well, I'm not going to say who it's up against because I don't want to leak. So we're going to go ahead and watch this game. I win the rock, paper, scissors, of course, because when I break the metagame, I also have to break the rock, paper, scissors metagame yet again. Opponent's playing 42 cards. I'm going to show both hands here because it's kind of important. Opponent has Pot of Avarice in his hand, and he's playing X-Sabers. In my opinion, you can just cut this card from your deck and drop down to 41. This card is really, really fucking bad in X-Sabers. It's just not good. It's always going to be dead unless you've already comboed off. And if you're comboing with X-Sabers, you've won the game. That's pretty much it. It also cucks you when you want to go for E-Call or Fall Troll, etc. It's pretty fucking bad. It's just definitely an easy cut from my opponent's list here. They have Torrential, though. They have 1-for-1, so they have a pretty good start. We have Flamvell Magician in our hand, which is a little bit awkward. That is definitely the downside of playing this card, is that you're going to draw it. I could only play 1, and when I was siding with this deck, I did side out 1, but you'll notice that even when I side out 1, I obviously draw it as well, so I just set Shining Angel and pass. I don't need to set Typhoon until it has a target. I don't want to like accidentally expose my Typhoon to a heavy storm. Next turn, I might want to Space Typhoon, Lone Back Row, summon Fire Dog, etc. Go from there, so yeah, just pass the turn. Opponent picks up an X-Saber name, which is really good for him because it means he can play this turn. So he goes 1-for-1, pitch X-Saber, Airbellum, special summon out the Regigura, add back Airbellum, normal Airbellum, special Fall Troll. He can make an arm, and then he can bring back the Airbellum. Now, what he should have done here was actually bring back the Regigura, and then add back the Airbellum. It just gives him another plus. There's really no reason to leave the Regigura in the grave. And it's good to keep that X-Saber monster in your hand floating so that your Godam's E-Call is never dead if I, like, break your board, basically. He attacks into the set monster, and this is the fucking power of Shining Angel. Like, my opponent did something this turn. Like, he actually did something this turn, but it just doesn't matter because I have 1 Shining Angel. I'm just going to Shining Angel into Shining Angel, and that's that, pretty much. He's going to continue to attack into it. This is actually a misplay on my opponent's part. He should attack into it with the Airbellum, and then not attack into it with the Armory Arm. But he does attack into it with the Armory Arm, and that is a misplay. You should not attack this Nova Summoner here. Yes, I can crash, but you can equip the arm to the Airbellum to prevent my crashing from being all that good. So, yeah, pretty much a misplay. You definitely don't want to attack my recruiters. Honestly, if I was him, I probably wouldn't have even attacked the second one, but I don't know. It's kind of tough from his position. Here, he's going to make Ancient Fairy in defense and then set Godam's E-Call. I'm shocked he was able to fit Ancient Fairy in the X-Saber extra deck because I normally don't have room for even the second Hyunlei. I usually have like two Gotems, one Hyunlei, double arm, Urbellum because you need an X-Saber name 7, Black Rose. I'm surprised he even has room for Ancient Fairy Dragon, but who knows? Maybe he's only on one arm because he is playing the Pot of Avarice. Now that Pot of Avarice, you can see right here, this is why you don't play this card in this deck. It's fucking bad. Anyway, he passes a turn. I Typhoon the back row. I mean, what else are you going to do? He chains its E-Call, but I'm like, alright. I'm going to summon Fire Dog. I'm going to attack Urbellum. I'm going to wait for my opponent. I'm going to declare the attack again. And then my opponent's going to quit the game. Shortly after. Of course, that's going to get destroyed, and then they are going to quit the game. I'm not going to show the end screen like I may have accidentally done in a previous video and expose my alternate account, of course. But yes, they do quit the game right after this, which is, it's kind of fucked up, but hey, I mean, that's why you set your Torrential instead of your God of Z-Call. Get fucking wrecked by Fairy Flamvels. I played 3 cards this game. I played a Shining Angel, a Mystical Space Typhoon, a Flamvel Fire Dog. And you know what? That's all it takes. That's all it takes to win when you're the GOAT. Just kidding. I'm not that good. Okay, next game is up against Dude Broman. Dude Broman is playing a deck that we've seen in the past. It's like Twilight Rose Knight, but he's got a lot of inclusions that I don't know if I would personally play. We'll get into it in a second. You guys will see what's up. We win the rock, paper, scissors, because again, if I'm breaking the metagame, I'm also breaking the rock, paper, scissors metagame. So yeah, if we take a look at these hands, the cards in his hand that I wouldn't play is Night Ends and Spirit Reaper. I wouldn't play either of these cards. I think they're both really bad. I actually think Spirit Reaper is like one of the most over-evaluated cards in Edison format in general. I think it's like honestly pretty trash. Yeah, okay, you can randomly poke for a card in hand sometimes, and that's pretty good, but like, how often is that fucking happening? Like, it's just not. Sitting on a card that can't be destroyed by battle for a prolonged period of time is always going to favor the opponent unless your deck has like some insane Haymaker, which this deck does have Haymakers, but I feel like Reaper is not the way to stall out, I guess. If you're going to stall out, you want to stall out with like UFO Turtle in this deck or Mystic Tomato. If you're not already maxing UFO Turtle and Mystic Tomato, then Reaper's just a bad choice. And then Night End Sorcerer, it doesn't really amount to much in this deck. You can side it if you want, but it's better just to min-max on like Twilight, Rose Knight, and Gale so you can make Power Tool as consistently as possible before you're playing Night End Sorcerer. I think it's just a weaker inclusion. It's not really, it's just a vanilla 99% of the time. And then banishing 2 from the graveyard, while it's cute, if you're crashing Mystic Tomato, you have to think like, okay, at what point am I ever grabbing a Night End Sorcerer? Am I ever grabbing it off of Tomato over like Twilight Rose Knight? Probably not, because I'd rather just grab a 3-star to make Power Tool, or I'd rather just grab Sangan to get my Lone Fire to get my combo off. So like grabbing Night End Sorcerer, it like so rarely comes up off of Mystic Tomato that I don't think it's worth including in the deck. And then on top of that, it's just a fucking terrible draw, like it is here in the hand. So yeah, just like improve the quality of the draws in the deck, and like you're gonna be drawing better. Obviously, Twilight Rose plus Botanical Lion is very good here, but we have Trap Dust Shoe and we're going first, so get fucked. I start off the game with normal summon DD Warrior Lady. We do have a bricked Christia. That is annoying, but next turn we have Fire Dog, which can like do stuff. DD Warrior Lady can do stuff. Our hand is pretty much entirely live except for the Christia, so it's not too bad. We have one dead card. Summon the DD Warrior Lady, set the Trap Dust Shoe. So the reason I summon DD Warrior Lady is because next turn I'm going to want to attack with the DD Warrior Lady. So if I set it and my opponent has bottomless Trap Hole and I flip my DD Warrior Lady and it gets bottomless, I'm going to be annoyed. So I'd rather just, have it face up in play. If they have Brain Control in their hand, I can Trap Dust Shoot, take the tuner. So that's going to be like my game plan, my idea there is if they have Brain Control, I can take the conversion with Trap Dust Shoot. And that's the reason you'd want to set DD Warrior Lady maybe, or to blur information. But yeah, I'm just going to take the Twilight Rose Knight here. They're not going to be able to do too much. My opponent makes a pretty big misplay. They summon Botanical Lion. Now this is a good play. Summon Botanical Lion is a good play. Attack the DD Warrior Lady is a good play. And banish both of them. This is a good play. But then they make a pretty big misplay and they don't set the Torrential. Like, what the fuck? Why not? The whole point is that if you set Torrential, I can't summon a monster. And if I can't summon a monster, you can summon a Reaper and poke my hand. That's the whole point of this play. But because my opponent doesn't do this, I'm able to get a significant advantage this game and just steamroll my opponent. Like, literally, like, all you have to do is play the Torrential in your hand. Like, sure, maybe I have Space Typhoon, maybe I have Heavy Storm. but like it's never getting better. Like the Torrential's never getting better than right now. And if you do stop me from normal summoning this turn, then you get a Reaper poke in, which is fucking that's the whole point of playing the card. Anyway, we pick up another Fire Dog. I think here for a really long while. I know their hand is Tomato, Night Ends, Reaper, Torrential. So I'm thinking, okay, next turn, if I have Fire Dog in play under the Torrential, then I can attack their set monster. Let's say it's Mystic Tomato. I'll get to search Flamveil Magician. They can't Torrential that because it gets summoned in the damage step. And then I get to Synchro into Stardust, and then their Torrential's dead for the rest of the game, which is really nice. So I'm thinking, okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I'm going to summon the Fire Dog here. I could summon the DD Warrior Lady, but I think it's better to have the Fire Dog down under the Torrential because of their hand. And if they set Reaper, I can attack into it with Fire Dog. It'll flip the Reaper. That's fine. Maybe on the future turn, I can clear it with Brain Control or DD Warrior Lady, or just figure it out from there, basically. It's just kind of a situation where, like, okay, I can initiate a stalemate situation, but the stalemate situation is best for me to have Fire Dog in play. Especially, let's say they draw like another Botanical Lion or another 1900 plus monster or 1600 plus monster like Breaker or something. I don't know what's in their deck. They can summon that and force the DD Warrior Lady trade. Like, let's say I summon DD Warrior Lady here. They can summon that and force the DD Warrior Lady trade, and then set Torrential this time, and then reinitiate the situation that we had on turn 1, but this time they have the Torrential set, which is bad for me. So I think having Fire Dog in play is a little bit more resilient. Yes, they could summon a Bot Lion and crash with it, but I'd rather Fire Dog in the grave too, just in case I draw Rekindling. Okay, so I attack for 1900. I hope that explains this play a little bit better. They pick up Brain Control, which is obviously very good for them. They could do a bunch of different stuff here. I think their biggest mistake here was when they used the Brain Control. So they used the Brain Control main phase 1 after summoning the Night End Sorcerer. This is actually just like a horrible play. I hate to roast my opponent, but I mean, this is just a bad play. Summon the Mystic Tomato, right? So you summon Mystic Tomato, you crash into Fire Dog. You get another, or I have to activate, I'm Chainlink 2 because your turn player. So I resolve my effect first. I activate and special summon out Magician. You grab, if I summon the Magician in attack position, then you can grab another Mystic Tomato. If I summon the Magician in defense position, then you can grab a Twilight Rose Knight. And then either way, you run over the Magician, you either crash with Tomato, grab Twilight Rose Knight, and then you can Brain Control the Flamveil Fire Dog, main phase 2, make Power Tool, and then search Mark of the Rose. And then you have a plant in the graveyard, and you have Mark of the Rose plus Night End Sorcerer for follow-up, or Mark of the Rose plus Spirit Reaper for follow-up, and you have Torrential in case things go super, super south. So I think my opponent definitely fucked this turn up. Like, he just doesn't understand how the recruiters work, which is like, they are tutors. They are ways to set up your power plays. The whole point of the Twilight Rose Knight deck is to set up that power play. This guy he just got kind of tunnel visioned. He's like, oh, I have Tuner Brain Control, I have to play that. But in reality, the synchro monster you want to resolve in this deck is actually Power Tool, because that's your advantage engine. And then once you have Power Tool down, you can search and equip spell every single turn I don't out it, and I just am going to get steamrolled by that advantage no matter what deck I'm playing. Even if I have a Rekindling at that point, it's like, it's not going to be enough to beat Power Tool plus all of this other shit. So yeah, he goes Brain Control, takes Fire Dog, makes Yugioh Guardian, and now his hand is just like so much fucking worse. Like, imagine this hand, but you have Night End's Mark of the Rose, and you have a Power Tool in play, as opposed to just having a Yugioh in play and then having nothing. Having to set Torrential behind Yugioh if that's something you want. So yeah, I know my opponent's hand at this point because they drew Brain Control for turn last turn. I know my opponent misplayed the last turn, so I know what kind of player they are. And this is another sort of like advanced play moment where it's like, okay, I know my opponent doesn't see the complex lines. I know he sees the sort of basic lines. So he's going to play around sweepers because that's kind of the basic thing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to summon DD Warrior Lady. I'm going to Brain Control his Yugioh Guardian. I'm going to attack with both, and I'm going to set my Mind Control to bluff a sweeper. Now, of course, he could summon his Spirit Reaper. He could run the Yugioh Guardian into the DD Warrior Lady, banish both, and Spirit Reaper attack directly, poke my hand, and potentially kill me this game off of that play. But if he doesn't, if he plays around a sweeper, which I'm assuming he will, then he won't summon the Spirit Reaper. He'll just attack the DD Warrior Lady, and then main phase 2, he'll set Mystic Tomato and pass the turn. So I go ahead and summon the DD Warrior Lady. Yes, I could DD Warrior Lady trade with the Yugioh Guardian now, not give him an opportunity to trade with a better monster, but I think this is a little bit better of a play because I don't predict him playing into a sweeper. I just don't. That's pretty much it. I think my opponent will think about Torrential, especially because it's in his hand. I think he will think about Mirror Force because that's, the premier trap card of this format. I'm going to Brain Control Goyo Guardian. I'm going to summon DD Warrior Lady, and I'm going to attack with both, putting my opponent to 1,000, which is really nice. Yeah, so I set both, and then I set my Mind Control. So this is not only to play around the whatever, but to play around the whatever. You get the idea. In any case, pass back to the opponent. This Torrential, sitting in his hand still, could have gotten played at any point this game, but just didn't. In any case, he attacks the DD Warrior Lady. We go ahead and banish that and the Goyo Guardian. And yeah, he played around the Sweeper, and then he sets the Tomato and he sets the Torrential. So my prediction was 100% accurate. And we drew the perfect card, which is Dimensional Alchemist. So I'm going to go ahead and summon that. Obviously, we would have the other play, which is Summon Fire Dog, basically force the Torrential, which does suck, but hopefully our other draw was live. We summon Dialk here. He's not going to Torrential. We're going to be able to Mind Control the Mystic Tomato and then win the game with broken Mind Control. So Mind Control, this is part of the reason why I think this is like a top 5 spell card in the format. It's really fucking annoying. Like, you literally can't beat it when you get into positions like this. It's just like one of those broken cards you can't really play around. It's pretty unfortunate, but my opponent did make like several misplays up until this point, which pretty much cost him this game. I think he definitely had the draw that could have beaten us by a lot, but he just didn't capitalize off of the cards in his hand. He didn't play his Tutor when it was his most powerful. He didn't play his Brain Control at its most powerful. He didn't play his Torrential at its most powerful, and he never got use out of his Torrential or his Spirit Reaper this whole game, when honestly they were very threatening cards to my defense-like sort of hand. For game 2, I actually sided pretty aggressively for this matchup, because I think this matchup is genuinely pretty bad. I sided in the DD Warrior Lady, both Cyber Dragons, to clear turn 1 power tool. I sided in Smashing Grounds, also to clear turn 1 power tool. I sided in the Banishers, and I sided in the Royal Oppressions. I sided out 1 Rekindling, I sided out 1 Flamvell Magician, I sided out Card Trooper, I sided out Raiko, I sided out Gores because I genuinely think I'm going to be the person attacking. I sided out Heavy Storm. He seemed pretty back row light, and I think I want my back row to stick around a little bit more. I sided out 1 Christia. I sided out 1 Dimensional Alchemist, I believe. I can't remember what else I sided out, but that's a large part of it. I think I sided out Call of the Haunted as well as Return, if I'm remembering correctly. I could be remembering poorly, but I think I sided out both Call of the Haunted and Return. So yeah, that's I sided very aggressively for this matchup because a turn 1 power tool, even in the hands of someone who doesn't know what the fuck they're doing, can easily run you over. So I definitely needed as many outs as possible to that, as possible to that. I already said that. I'm like repeating myself. I'm getting stun locked in my own fucking brain. This game, we see his hand. He has triple Mark of the Rose. Very unlucky. He has Kaiku, Caius, the Shadow Monarch. In general, if you see the cards that you saw in my deck, which was Flamvell stuff and DD Warrior Ladies, Kaiku's not really a great side in. I think it's actually pretty bad. Yeah, I don't think it's like a great side in here. I think he shouldn't have sided this in. And then in general, in the decks that play Mark of the Rose and stuff, I don't know if I was playing Caius. I think I was. But yeah, this hand's pretty bad, but he does have Allure to get out of it, which is not the worst. He allures, he finds Gigaplant, and he finds DD Warrior Lady, and then he banishes Kaiku, I believe. So here, I probably would have banished the Caius, just because, like, I don't know. Maybe not. That's not a great hand. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't have sided in the Kaiku. I might have banished the Caius here. I'm not sure. I guess Kaiku's just pretty bad into Fire Dog. I might have just kept the plays, but I don't know. I don't know what the rest of his deck looks like. It's a pretty unfortunate draw. He passes a turn. I go DD Warrior Lady, trade with the DD Warrior Lady. I activate mine, banish both, and then pass a turn. He picks up Autonomous Action Unit. This is a card that I have not really enjoyed, I will say. I think it's kind of a weaker card. He bluffs scores, just passes a turn, which is smart, I think. We just set Flamvell Magician and pass the turn. He picks up Dark Arm Dragon, so yet another brick. I think you could definitely figure out a way to not play this many bricks. Like, either if you're playing Gigaplant, don't play Autonomous Action Unit, or if you're playing Caius, like, don't play Gigaplant, or if you're playing Dark Arms, don't play Gigaplant. Like, figure out a balance between these cards. This is obviously a terrible draw and very unlucky from the opponent, but, like, I feel like one of these cards could be cut. And then also, like, you probably didn't need to side in Kaiku in this matchup. So, I mean, all this hand takes is one, like, Mystic Tomato to be a really good hand, honestly. So, yeah, it just depends on, like, where Kaiku is at. Like, if he sided in Kaiku over Mystic Tomato, then that could have been maybe the difference. Who knows? He passes a turn. We pick up Banisher. I just synchro into Stardust because I'm like, okay, maybe he has Torrential. I have Herald. I have Banisher. I have Christia. I'm chilling. I can Herald the Power Tool. I'll attack directly for 2,500. Us drawing our one Flamveil Magician is awkward, but it's definitely nowhere near as awkward as our opponent drawing like this. They draw Mirror Force, obviously dead into Stardust. They go ahead and action unit, and then they Caius, try to banish the Stardust, but we have Herald of Orange. Herald of Orange Light is incredibly broken. It's not a fair card at all. Very unlucky for the opponent there that's what happened. But I mean, that's just Herald of Orange Light. This card's busted. It's really good against like almost every iteration of the Twilight Rose Knight deck. So yeah, we pick up Cyber Valley. Not the worst. We summon Honest. We attack with both. Deal 3,600. He's down to 400. Brain Control's now dead. We bounce our card. He draws Sangan. He sets a card. He passes a turn. We summon Dialk. We banish the top card. Now I wonder if there was a way for him to crash Sangan. No, he can't crash Sangan. He's at 400. Anyway, we attack with Dialk. He goes ahead and searches. He's forced to Mirror Force here. We Stardust negate the Mirror Force. Obviously, Stardust comes back. He picks up Trap Dust Shoot. Now, if he has Titanial in his deck, he can make Titanial, but then he's kind of owned. Let me see. How does it work? Yeah, he kind of loses to Honest no matter what. Hand traps are broken. This is why I don't like playing later formats. Because, like, you can have a hand like this, and you just kind of fucking lose. Yeah, Trap Dust Shoot a turn too late to catch the Herald. Really unlucky draw from the opponent this game. I would have liked to see more of his deck here. He ends up going Lone Fire into Bot Lion, which is like, does he not have Titanial in his deck? He says, what am I even supposed to do when I open such shit? That's true. He did open shit. I honestly don't like Autonomous Action Unit. I think 1,500 life points is just too much to pay. And I honestly don't know if this combination of like Caius, Dark Armed, and Gigaplant should even be in the deck. And I definitely do know that you shouldn't side in Kaiku when you see Flamveil Fire Dog. But that being said, my opponent did have an unlucky draw this game, and it is rather unfortunate for him. Drawing all 3 Mark of the Rose with no plant is just kind of not good. But in general, if you have like UFO turtles, if you have more cards to make this sort of thing live, if you're not siding in like stuff like Kaiku, I definitely think you need to be on 5 recruiters if you're playing Gigaplant. You need to be on double UFO plus triple tomato. I think that's like the right number. And then I also do think you need like, I don't know, not to play Autonomous Action Unit. Honestly, the turn he went for Caius, he could have maybe like tribute summoned Gigaplant just to get his Mark of the Rose live. Like, I know that that's wild. Like, obviously you want to Caius the Stardust, but like if you Caius the Stardust and you attack and have Gores, like where are you even? You know, where are you even? Whereas like if you just like tribute summon Gigaplant and then I attack over it, at least next turn you can Mark of the Rose, take the Stardust, and then like maybe make something happen. I don't really know. This game was just unlucky on my opponent's side. We drew our 1 brick and they drew their 4, so that's just the way it goes. He gets to mark both our monsters, but he can't deal lethal damage because he already normal summoned the Lone Fire, which is just unlucky, unfortunate, all of the above, etc., etc. One thing he maybe might have wanted to consider was like off of Sangan searching Twilight Rose and just hoping to draw a level 4 plant, because then at least that way he could do something like Power Tool, but even then I think it's just like a little bit too little too late because we have Honest. So yeah, good shit. GG's to my opponent. I do think the Flamveil Fairy deck is good. I think it's like genuinely slept on. I'm like trying to think about like if there was anything he could have done differently. I don't think there was. I think the only thing he could have done differently was like not banish the Kaiku, banish the Caius. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That was like his only decision point, really. And then if he had the Kaiku, then like Autonomous would have been like an 8-star synchro, which obviously is much better than Caius into Herald of Orange. Like you could go Autonomous, summon Kaiku, and then synchro into Thought Ruler, and then Thought Ruler run over Stardust, gain life points. But at that point, I don't even think he had Autonomous in his hand. I don't know. Let me refresh this. Hold up. Let me refresh this because I'm actually curious to see if he had Autonomous in hand after the Allure. He maybe should have kept the Kaiku, but I don't think he did. I think it was like Caius plus DD Warrior Lady is what he drew. Hold up. Let's evaluate this. This is gonna bother me. I do think there's a different line, but I'm just not sure of it. Oh no, he had Gigaplant. Okay, yeah. Yeah, maybe it's right to keep Caius. Maybe not, because you have Gigaplant. I think it's better to keep Kaku here. I think it's marginal, but I do think it's better to keep Kaku. The reason is because it just gives you more plays. Like, let's say DD Warrior Lady trades with my only play. Then you still have a play. Whereas now you only have one play, as opposed to two. That's it. I just think keeping as many plays as possible in a bricked hand is the only way you stand a chance at surviving a game that you otherwise wouldn't win. It's just keep as many live cards as possible. This was probably a big decision point for the opponent. I do understand wanting to keep the Caius, but like if you're tribute summoning anything with this hand, it's going to be Gigaplant. I also don't really understand. I haven't seen Supervise, but if you have Supervise, you really don't want to be playing Autonomous Action Unit. Like your best spells are DDR and Mark of the Rose and Supervise, obviously. Autonomous Action Unit is only really good if your opponent has like, I don't know, Turbo Christia. So now he picks up the action unit. Yeah, just terrible draws and unlucky from him, but that's going to be the match. In any case, let me know what you guys think of this deck. I think it's solid. I think it's legit. I mean, like, just from, like, the games we played, obviously game one, if my opponent had played a little better, he probably would have taken it off of me, and I think that that would have been an interesting match to see, especially if we got to use our sideboard cards versus him. But the next game, we just drew Herald, and it's just like, how do Synchro decks ever beat Herald Christia? I don't know. I don't know how they ever beat it. It's too broken. I'll see you guys in the next vid. Peace.